Most Americans think living abroad for years means giving up your passport, hiring an expensive immigration lawyer, and waiting forever for a stack of paperwork to get approved. In 2026, that is just not true anymore. There are countries where you can legally stay for years without becoming a citizen, without a complicated visa, and in some cases, without any visa at all. No renouncing your citizenship, no income proof at the border, no attorney draining your savings, no months of waiting and hoping. Just 8 countries where Americans can legally settle in and stay for years. Whether you are retired on a Social Security check or still working online, many of these places run you $1,000 to $1,500 a month with a cost of living that finally makes sense. Stick around for number 1 because you can step off the plane, show your passport, and legally stay a full year with no visa whatsoever. And most Americans have never even considered it. And there is one catch that follows you to every country on this list. I will get to it at number 4. Let's start close to home with number 8, Mexico. Think of Mexico as the gentle on-ramp to living abroad. It is familiar. It is a short flight from almost anywhere in the States, and getting in could not be simpler. As an American, you can land at the airport with nothing but your passport and be waved in as a tourist. No visa to arrange in advance, no lawyer, no language test. Here is the update for 2026, though. That famous 180-day tourist stay is no longer automatic. Border officers now often grant just 30, 60, or 90 days, especially if you cannot show an onward or return ticket, or if they notice you have been spending a lot of time in the country already. The tourist permit costs around $54, and you cannot extend or renew it. So if your real plan is to stay for years, the tourist stamp is not the move. The move is residency. Mexico's temporary resident visa is income-based. In 2026, you will generally need to show around $44,000 a month in income, or about $74,000 in savings over the past year. Clear that bar, and you get a card good for 1 year, renewable out to 4. After those 4 years, you can convert to permanent residency with no more renewals and the right to work, and you never have to leave the country to do it. Now, the catch. The government roughly doubled its residency processing fees starting in January 2026, so budget more than you would have a year ago. And because Mexico is a big country, safety really depends on where you settle. A quiet colonial town in the highlands is a very different world from a rough border city. So the smart play is to pick your spot carefully and visit before you commit. What you get in return is genuinely good private healthcare at a fraction of US prices, fresh local food, warm weather, and the comfort of being just a couple hours from family back home. Mexico is the easy first step, but stay with me because number 1 asks even less of you. There is a country where you do not fill out a single form. You just show up and stay a year. If Mexico is the on-ramp, Panama is the country that hands retirees a key on day 1. Panama runs on the US dollar, so there is no exchange rate eating into your fixed income, and no mental math every time you buy groceries. And it built one of the easiest retirement residency programs on earth, the Pensionado. Here is how simple it is. If you can prove a lifetime pension of at least $1,000 a month, $1,250 for a couple, you qualify, and your U.S. Social Security counts. You do not need to be a citizen. You do not need to sink $200,000 into the country. You just need that steady monthly check. And the reward is not a temporary stamp. Approved applicants get permanent residency right away, which means you can live there indefinitely. The Pensionado also comes with discounts written straight into Panamanian law. Around 20% off doctor visits, 15% off hospital bills, 10 to 20% off prescriptions, plus money off flights and restaurants. Speaking of doctors, this matters more as we get older, so let me be specific. Panama City is home to Hospital Punta Pacifica, the only hospital in Central America affiliated with Johns Hopkins Medicine. Most of its specialists trained in the United States, and major procedures run 70 to 85% below U.S. prices. Now, the catch. Panama's other famous route, the Friendly Nations visa, is not the cheap shortcut it used to be. These days, it generally asks for a $200,000 real estate purchase or bank deposit, or a job with a local company. So for most retirees, the Pensionado is the realistic door. And while the process is clear, it is not paperwork-free. You will want a local immigration lawyer, usually $1,500 to $3,000, and a few months of patience. But compared to what most countries ask, trading your Social Security letter for permanent residency is about as good as it gets. Panama rewards a steady pension. But what if you are not retired yet, or your income comes from somewhere else? Head south. At number 6, Ecuador also uses the US dollar, so once again, no currency risk. And it gives you a choice most lists ignore. You get to dial in your own climate. Want cool, spring-like mountain air all year? Settle in a colonial city like Cuenca. Want warm Pacific beaches? The coast is right there. For staying long-term, there are two simple paths. If you have a lifetime pension, there is the pensioner visa. If your income is passive, from rentals or investments, there is the rentista visa. Either way, the 2026 threshold is about $1,446 a month, which is 3 times Ecuador's minimum wage. The average U.S. Social Security check already clears that bar, so even people who claimed early at 62 often qualify. And the cost to apply is tiny. Total government fees come to around $320. No $200,000 investment, no tangle of lawyers, just an affordable, straightforward path. In Cuenca, in 2026, an unfurnished 2-bedroom apartment in a nice neighborhood rents for around $300 to $400 a month. And here is something retirees love. Once you are a resident, you can join the public health system for roughly $85 to $100 a month, with no exclusions for pre-existing conditions. And a private doctor visit out of pocket runs just $25 to $40. Now, the catch. If you claim Social Security very early and your check is on the smaller side, you might land just under that 1446 line, so check your number first. And if you choose the mountains, the altitude is real. Quito sits around 9,000 feet, and that takes some getting used to. Notice the pattern so far? Latin America loves a steady income. But Asia plays a completely different game, one where you can stay for years without proving a single dollar up front. And there is that one catch I promised. The thing that follows every single country on this list, no matter which you choose. Hold that thought. It is coming at number 4. People say, I do not want to do border runs. I do not want to leave every 90 days just to come back. The Philippines gets that. You arrive visa-free for 30 days, then you extend, and you keep extending, all from inside the country, up to a maximum of 36 months. That is 3 full years without ever having to leave. Once you pass 59 days, you register for what is called an ACR identity card, and in 2026, most of those extensions can be handled online after a single in-person visit for your photo and fingerprints. If you would rather set it and forget it, there is the retirement visa, the SRRV. It was restructured in late 2025. The minimum age is now 40, the application fee is $1,500, and a pensioner aged 50 or older puts down a $15,000 deposit with proof of about $800 a month in pension. In return, you get indefinite stay. 2 things make the Philippines special for Americans. First, English is an official language and it is spoken almost everywhere. So the daily friction of not understanding your doctor or your landlord just disappears. Second, for veterans, Manila is home to the only full-service Veterans Affairs office and outpatient clinic anywhere outside the United States. Be clear-eyed about that, though. It treats service-connected conditions. It is not a general hospital for every expat. If the honest, sourced version of this is what you came for, do me a favor and subscribe, so the next breakdown finds you. Now, before you fly, you have to fill out a free digital arrival form, and if you skip it, you can be denied boarding. And healthcare quality swings hard depending on location. Big cities like Manila and Cebu have excellent private hospitals, but in remote areas, for anything serious, people travel. Speaking of healthcare, the next country turns it into a genuine selling point, and it is where we finally deal with that catch I keep mentioning. Number 4. Malaysia. Malaysia is the country that does not just let you in, it makes staying comfortable. For remote workers, the realistic path is the Derantau Nomad Pass. If you earn around $24,000 a year in tech, or about $60,000 in other fields, you can get a pass good for up to 2 years. Now, you may have heard of Malaysia's famous retirement program called MM2H. Be careful there. It has been pushed well out of reach for ordinary people. The entry tier now wants something like a $150,000 deposit plus a property purchase, and the top tier climbs to $1 million. So if a video tells you that program is easy, that video is out of date. What makes Malaysia shine is everyday life. Kuala Lumpur has world-class infrastructure, fast internet, and a single person lives well on roughly $1,100 to $1,200 a month. And the healthcare is excellent and widely used by expats. Here is the number that should make you sit up. In 2026, an American in their early 60s pays around $1,600 a month just for health insurance, climbing toward $1,800 by 64 before a single doctor's visit. In Malaysia, comprehensive international expat coverage averages about $400 a month, and basic plans start near $50 to $75. Same care, a fraction of the price. So that is the dream. Now, here is the catch I have been promising, and it applies to all 8 of these countries, not just this one. You keep your US citizenship, which is exactly what you want. But that means you keep the IRS too. Wherever in the world you live, you still file a US tax return every single year. And a lot of people get burned by one detail. That foreign earned income exclusion you may have heard of, around $133,000 in 2026, only shelters money you earn from working. It does not cover pensions, and it does not cover Social Security. In fact, up to 85% of your Social Security can be taxable. There is no country on earth where an American simply escapes the IRS. But, and this is the important part, getting taxed twice is usually avoidable,
The US has agreements with around 30 countries to stop double Social Security taxation. The foreign tax credit offsets what you pay abroad, and some tax treaties protect your Social Security outright. So with a little planning, most retirees do not pay twice. They just have to file. So no, you cannot outrun the IRS. But you can absolutely outrun the rent, the winter, and the noise. And the next 3 countries make staying almost suspiciously simple. Number 3 does not even ask for a visa. Number 3, Georgia. And no, not the state in the American South, the country tucked between Europe and Asia just east of the Black Sea. Georgia does something almost no one else does. It hands you a full year, no strings, the moment you land. Americans can enter and stay visa-free for up to 365 days. No application, no proof of income at the border, no paperwork to justify why you were there. You just walk in and start living. That makes it a favorite for people who work online, partly because of the tax setup. Georgia generally taxes income by where it is earned, so money from foreign clients can fall outside the local tax net. And there is a small business scheme that taxes local revenue at just 1%. 2 honest updates for 2026 though, because the rules did move. First, since January, you need travel medical insurance to enter, covering at least the equivalent of about $11,000. Second, since March, actually working for a Georgian company or running a local business requires a new special labor permit, so that 1% scheme now has an extra step. Remote work for clients back home still sits in a tolerated gray zone. On cost, Tbilisi is gentle on the wallet. A single person lives on roughly $1,000 to $1,500 a month, with a 1-bedroom in the center around $760, and less outside it. The city mixes old-world architecture with a fast-growing community of expats and remote workers. Now, the catch. That generous year is a visa-free stay, not residency. To stay longer without a break, you either leave and re-enter to reset the clock, which some people are tired of doing, or you apply for a proper residence permit. And Georgia is a 4-season country. So if you are chasing endless tropical warmth, this is not it. Georgia hands you a year and gets out of your way. But the next country lets you stay year after year without that reset for just a few $100s. Number 2, Cambodia. And this is the one that surprises people. Cambodia is not trying to dazzle you with a long stay up front. It just quietly makes staying easy year after year. You arrive on a business visa, the E-class, and then you extend it from inside the country in chunks of 1, 3, 6, or 12 months, and the 6 and 12-month versions let you come and go freely. The whole thing usually runs a few $100s a year. There is no source of funds test, no interview, no language exam to get started. You are not doing border runs. You just renew and keep living. Here is a quiet perk most people miss. Cambodia runs heavily on US dollars. They circulate as everyday cash right alongside the local currency, and rents, prices, and visa fees are often quoted in dollars. So just like Panama and Ecuador, your money works directly with no currency gymnastics. On cost, it is one of the most affordable spots on this entire list. A single person lives comfortably in Phnom Penh on around $900 to $1,400 a month, with a 1-bedroom in the center near $560. And expats describe something money cannot buy. A genuinely welcoming, easygoing place where you settle in without feeling like a permanent outsider. Now the catch, and it is a real one. For longer stays, you will eventually need a work permit folded into the process. And healthcare is fine for everyday needs, but for anything complex, most expats fly to Bangkok, which is close, but it is still a flight. The system is less polished, less standardized. For some people, that is freedom. For others, it is a deal breaker. So here is where I want to hear from you. Of these 8, which one just made your shortlist?
and which one got crossed off? And be honest, is keeping your US passport worth the yearly tax paperwork? Drop it in the comments. I read them, and they shape the next breakdown. Now, after all these renewals and permits, there is one country that asks for almost nothing at all. You just arrive. And that brings us to number 1, the country most Americans have never even considered: Albania. Picture this. You land in Tirana, you show your passport, you get a stamp, and that is it. You are legally free to stay for a full year. No visa, no residence permit, no checking in with the police, no monthly paperwork. Thanks to a special agreement between Albania and the United States, Americans get a full 365 days, the simplest long stay in this entire video. And here is the part that quietly matters for anyone who loves Europe. Albania is not in the Schengen zone. So your year there does not burn through that famous 90 days in 180 rule that limits most of the continent. This is exactly where a lot of other videos get it wrong, lumping Albania in with Schengen countries. It is not. On money, Albania is a Mediterranean bargain. In Tirana, a one-bedroom in the center runs around $500 to $600 a month. A meal out is $5 to $12, and utilities are modest. And the coastline, the Albanian Riviera, has the turquoise water of its famous neighbors without the famous price tag. But the real reason people fall for Albania is not the math. It is the feeling. Expats describe it as a place where you can leave your politics at the door, where race and religion and the daily American noise simply are not the conversation. For anyone worn down by all of that, that peace is the actual product. And if you are wondering whether peaceful really means safe, the numbers agree. The US State Department rates Albania level 2, the same caution level it gives France and Italy. Its crime rate is moderate and has been falling for years, and violent crime against visitors is rare. The biggest real risk is the road, not the people. Albania is still developing. Things move slower, systems can be inconsistent, and that smooth efficiency you might expect is not always there. And remember, that wonderful year is a stay, not permanent residency. To put down real roots, you leave for about 90 days and return, or you apply for a residence permit by showing modest, steady income. So there it is. No visa, no lawyer, no permission slip. Just a passport, a stamp, and a year of breathing room on a Mediterranean coast, while you stay every bit as American as the day you left. So let's pull it together, because under all 8 of these countries, there is a simple map.
There are really 3 ways to stay abroad for years. 1. Real residency you apply for once and largely forget, like Mexico, Panama, and Ecuador. 2. Extensions you renew from inside the country, no border runs, like the Philippines and Cambodia. And 3. The just show up and live route, where a country like Georgia or Albania hands you a full year the moment you arrive. None of them require giving up your citizenship. Pick the one that fits your income and your temperament, not the one with the prettiest postcard. And remember the thread that ties all 8 together. You keep your American passport, so you keep filing American taxes. But with a little planning, you almost never pay twice. Here is the honest takeaway. The goal was never to find the single cheapest country. It is to find the lowest friction path to the life you actually want. A life where your money stretches, your stress shrinks, and your days feel like yours again. Because the new American dream is not a bigger paycheck. It is a smaller cost of living and a bigger life. And the quiet truth is, you do not have to give up your passport to go and get it. If you want to know which of these doors might be closing soon and which visa rules are quietly tightening in 2026, that breakdown is waiting for you right here.